So far in our series on voluntary work in Germany, I've presented several large aid organizations, but most volunteers are involved in a completely different type of organization.
Welcome to YD. Why do Germans do things the way they do?
Around 40% of Germans do voluntary work. That's around 28.8 million people, according to the 2019 volunteering survey. And compared to 1999, when only around 30% of Germans did voluntary work, that's a significant increase. Germans are therefore very willing to help. At 44.7%, people between the ages of 30 and 49 are the most active. This is precisely the group that are typically parents. The German Red Cross, as well as the Diakonie and Caritas, have hundreds of thousands of volunteers, but the majority of volunteers are active in sports clubs. Whether they are teams coaches, supervisors, or referees, they all work on voluntary basis. Incidentally, the German Olympic Sports Confederation, DOSB, also has 28.8 million members in 2023, so around 40% of Germans. A good 13% of volunteers are in sports clubs. So, whether the little footballers want to play in the National League, whether you want to go skiing or ice skating in winter, perhaps bobsleighing or ski jumping. Perhaps they prefer swimming, diving, sailing, or rowing in the wet, or playing handball, basketball, or badminton in the sports hall. Would you prefer outdoor athletics or hockey, cycling, or beach volleyball, or would you rather do weight training with weights or simply play chess or darts? As in this video about sports, there is of course also cricket, judo, or rugby. And also, there are supposedly no firearms in Germany. You can also do biathlon, air rifle, or rapid fire pistol shooting. If it's not the coaches employed by the first teams or professional clubs, then almost all coaches work on a voluntary basis and often receive a small allowance. Up to 3,000 euro per year is tax free for coaches and up to 840 euro for other volunteers, which would be 70 euro per month. After sports, 8.6% of volunteers are active in the fields of culture or music. In addition to local heritage societies that organize their own museums and local town or village festivals, there are numerous choirs and music groups, which of course have volunteer choir masters or music teachers. There are also theater groups from open air theaters, for example. Here too, all the performers are volunteers. After the social sector with 8.3%, which of course includes the volunteers of AWO, Diakonie, and Caritas, come volunteers in kindergarten and schools with 8.2%. These are often the active members of the supporting organizations. 8% of volunteers support refugees and asylum seekers. Support could be better the other way around. While 44.4% of people without a migration background are involved, only 27% of people with a direct migration background are involved. However, 38.7% of those who were born in Germany, even though their ancestors have a migrant background, are involved in voluntary work. So you could say that voluntary work is typically German. If you want to get involved, you can certainly utilize your own strengths there. You can sing or teach others to play an instrument. Did you train children or adults in a sport in your country of origin? Have you mastered a craft and can teach others? Can you help others, perhaps even people from your home region? For example, the Telefonseelsorge, telephone counseling service in Germany, is also run by volunteers. The telephone counseling service was launched in Berlin on 5th October 1956, 3 years after the first telephone counseling service in London. This grew from one telephone number and then created telephone counseling services in Kassel, Düsseldorf, and in Hamburg in 1959. In 1960, the Protestant Conference of Telephone Counseling, EKTS, was founded, and in 1965, the Catholic Working Group for Telephone Counseling and Open Doors was established. After the first ecumenical activities at local level, the Protestant Catholic Commission for Telephone Counseling was founded in 1969. In principle, anyone can call anonymously. Even in our high-tech age, in which everything is recorded, these calls are not logged and the telephone counselors do not receive any information about the call number. There is not even a charge for this call. The costs are borne by Deutsche Telekom. No name have to be given and the telephone counselors remain anonymous. Telefonseelsorger, telephone counselors, are bound to confidentiality, just like priests in confession. Thanks to the numerous volunteers, the telephone counseling service is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If you don't want to call, you can also contact the telephone counselors by email or chat. They have been on the internet since 1995 and of course they are also here on YouTube. Around 8,000 volunteers work in the telephone counseling service throughout Germany. Initially, the telephone counseling received intensive training on how to conduct a call, how to offer help or ask the right question, or simply how to listen and sometimes remain silent. This requires them to work for at least 3 years. However, many do this for much longer, sometimes up to 40 years. Apart from the two churches, Telefonseelsorge Berlin is the oldest organization of its kind and is a non-denominational association. The telephone counseling service is available nationwide on 0800 111 0111 or 0800 111 0222 and provides help in particular in crisis, in case of loneliness and in suicide prevention. Especially before Christmas, the number of calls due to loneliness is always somewhat higher. But it's not only if you are affected by it yourself, but also if relatives are affected by it, you can get advice. So if something is going wrong, it's better to talk to someone about it. However, the telephone counseling service is only available in German. In my opinion, this is understandable in such difficult situations where it's often important to listen. There should be no misunderstanding. However, on their website, they show where you can find other national telephone numbers, which in turn operate and support in the respective national language. So, as I said in the beginning, it's typically German to have an honorary post. And it's a good way to get in touch with Germans and, as always, to improve your German language skills. And if all seems too much, maybe just call the telephone counseling service or help out there if you have the appropriate language skills. It's also in your hands to make the world a little bit better, and we can use that in the current situation. As always, any additions, remarks, and comments in the comments. Thank you for your attention. See you in the next video.